Breaking news today. In response to a brutal attack on a federal worker, the president is considering taking direct control of Washington, D.C. He has criticized local leaders for their failure to curb violent crime. This raises a critical question. Is federal intervention a necessary measure, or does it set a dangerous precedent?
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports that President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. following a brutal attack on a 19-year-old federal employee. This young worker was savagely beaten unconscious while defending a woman from a violent mob in the heart of our nation's capital. This incident isn't just random violence. It's the end of years of failed Democratic leadership in D.C., where criminals are often handled leniently while law-abiding citizens are left vulnerable. President Trump's frustration is understandable. Who could blame him? But this raises a critical question. Should the federal government intervene, or would this simply replace one set of unaccountable officials with another? When local authorities fail to protect their citizens, what alternatives are we left with? As conservatives, we must also consider the risks of federal overreach. If the government can take control of D.C. today, could your town be next? The previous administration, led by Biden and Harris, allowed the city's decline by prioritizing ideology over safety. Now it's left to President Trump to address the aftermath. Yet any solution must uphold our Constitution, respect our freedoms, and maintain the principle of local governance. Otherwise, we risk embodying the very overreach we strive to prevent. Get ready for it.
The nation's capital in a popular part of town, according to police, a 15-year-old man and a 15-year-old woman were arrested and charged with unarmed carjacking. The attack prompted President Trump to post, "Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens."
Crime in Washington, D.C. has escalated to the point where even the most popular neighborhoods are not immune to bold attacks. A recent incident where a group of teenagers violently assaulted a young man and his companion during an attempted carjacking highlights the consequences of failed local leadership and misplaced priorities. Two 15-year-olds from Maryland were arrested and charged, while several accomplices escaped, illustrating a disturbing trend of youth crime. This trend has been exacerbated by lenient policies and a lack of meaningful consequences. This situation is a direct result of progressive criminal justice reforms and a soft on-crime stance adopted by local Democrat leadership. Such policies have prioritized ideology over public safety, emboldening offenders who are aware they face minimal repercussions. The recent attack on a federal employee, a person committed to improving government efficiency, is not only a personal tragedy but also a stark warning to all residents and visitors of the city. Clearly, the current approach to crime in the district is failing, and the citizens of D.C. deserve better protection. While the desire for federal intervention is understandable in light of local officials' failure to maintain order, conservatives must recall the importance of local control and limited government. Relinquishing day-to-day policing to federal authorities could set a dangerous precedent, undermining the principles of federalism and self-governance that our republic is built on. Although the Constitution grants Congress authority over the district, overriding local autonomy should be a measure of last resort. The real solution involves holding local officials accountable and returning to law and order policies that effectively deter crime. This includes prosecuting violent offenders, including juveniles, ensuring consequences for criminal actions, and moving away from radical reforms that compromise city safety. The difference is evident in cities that have adopted stringent crime policies and have seen improvements, unlike those persisting with unsuccessful progressive strategies. This issue goes beyond mere statistics or politics. It touches on the fundamental right of Americans to feel safe in their communities. The leadership in Washington, D.C. must prioritize the safety of its people, embracing both the rule of law and the principles of limited government. It is time for a change that truly protects and serves the community.
Enforcement problem, and you can't have law enforcement that are activists. They got to be able to do their job. Look, I spent some of my career working in juvenile court. I have immense a passion for the young people and turning their lives around. But one thing I found when I did work there is that there has to be consequence, or they continue to repeat. And we finally got some hope in New York City.
In New York City, a renewed emphasis on basic law enforcement principles, allowing officers to focus on their roles without the distractions of activism, has proven effective. For years, progressive policies, particularly under the previous Democratic administration, diminished police morale and accountability. This led to increased repeat offenses and created a revolving door for young offenders. Clearly, without serious consequences, crime persists, burdening the community. A shift toward enforcing laws and holding offenders accountable in New York has resulted in declining rates of murders, robberies, and shootings. This demonstrates that effective policing and prosecution can significantly enhance city safety. In contrast, cities that continue to experiment with progressive policies suffer from high crime rates and a rising exodus of families and businesses seeking safer environments. Lawmakers should note that treating criminal behavior, especially violent acts by juveniles, as minor transgressions only empowers offenders. Data from New York indicates a rise in adult arrests, suggesting that blaming youth justice reforms alone is insufficient. The lack of transparency and accountability in the family court system, which handles most juvenile cases, complicates efforts to evaluate effectiveness. Rather than investing in prevention programs with dubious outcomes, we should ensure swift and certain consequences for criminal acts, regardless of the offender's age. This approach is more likely to disrupt the cycle of crime. Meanwhile, some in Albany advocate for increased spending and more bureaucracy, despite evidence from New York City supporting a return to traditional law enforcement methods. This is a crucial time for our country. The contrast between cities prioritizing public safety and those that do not is stark. The Republican approach supports law enforcement, demands accountability, and respects local control, offering a clear alternative to the chaos of progressive policies. As we approach the next election cycle, the choice is clear: restore order and common sense, or continue on a path of decline and disorder.
I'm thankful for the reduction in crime across our city, and also to see it as part of nationwide trends where we're seeing much of the same, and the knowledge that we still have more work to do. It's important to celebrate that which has been done, that which has been achieved, and also know that we continue to strive for a city that is free from the kinds of mass shootings that we saw last week, that is free from the violence that still afflicts far too many New Yorkers.
But the New York Post editorial board is not buying it for a second.
Crime rates are declining in many major cities, including ours, a positive trend that highlights the effectiveness of law enforcement when supported by public demand for safety. The challenge is far from over, as the threat of mass shootings and ongoing violence still affects too many families. In Washington, D.C., violent crime has dropped by over 25% compared to last year, with significant decreases in homicides, robberies, and assaults. This reflects a broader national trend of decreasing serious offenses. Yet, we must avoid complacency. D.C.'s crime rate remains more than double the national average, and areas like Anacostia are still among the most dangerous in the country. Media coverage plays a critical role in shaping public perception. Fox News, for example, effectively highlights the personal toll of crime through interesting visual storytelling and thorough reporting. Their coverage emphasizes the shortcomings of progressive policies and contrasts different cities' approaches, such as New York under Mayor Adams, where a renewed focus on basic law enforcement has led to significant crime reductions. Fox News sometimes overly focuses on sensational incidents, which can distort the overall understanding of crime trends, such as juvenile crime or the effects of bail reform. It's crucial that the reporting stays anchored in current, accurate data and includes diverse expert opinions to provide a balanced view. This would help contextualize crime statistics, showing both progress made and ongoing challenges without inciting undue fear or resignation. Fox News excels in exposing harsh realities and holding leaders accountable for ineffective policies. Yet they should avoid advocating for heavy-handed federal interventions which contradict the conservative principles of local governance and limited government. The solution lies in embracing proven law and order strategies, enhancing transparency in the justice system, and supporting law enforcement in the prosecution of violent criminals. As cities that uphold these principles continue to see crime reductions, the failure of progressive policies becomes increasingly clear. The way forward involves demanding accountability, empowering law enforcement, and ensuring every American's fundamental right to safety.
Voters stand with our vision of Seattle's future, a city with social housing. Reliable public transit. A city with universal childcare. A city where no one has to sleep unsheltered. A city where you do not need a six-figure income to feel at home. These results also show us what we all see with our own eyes. Bruce Harrell is doing a bad job.
Housing, transit, and childcare are central to Seattle's progressive vision, yet the reality for working families is complex. The appeal of social housing and universal childcare is undeniable, but the economic implications of these policies are concerning for the average household. Despite efforts to make Seattle accessible for those without a six-figure income, the cost of living remains one of the highest in the nation, with home prices and rents continuing to exclude middle-class families. Consider this analogy: a household budget that keeps adding expenses, free housing, subsidized transit, universal childcare, without increasing income or productivity. This leads to difficult choices: raise taxes, cut other services, or accrue unsustainable debt. Seattle faces similar risks with its ambitious social programs. These initiatives, while well-intentioned, come with significant costs that ultimately burden taxpayers and local businesses. Small business owners, crucial to the local economy, are already contending with regulatory challenges and escalating costs. Additional taxes could drive more employers and jobs away from the city. Crime statistics present a mixed picture. Although violent crime has decreased, with murders down over 20% last year, property crimes and drug offenses remain high. These ongoing issues compromise the safety and stability needed for families and businesses to invest in Seattle's future. It's insufficient to highlight a decline in one area of crime without addressing the broader safety concerns. On transit, the promise of fast, reliable service is far from being realized. Persistent delays, maintenance issues, and disappointing ridership figures suggest that investing billions in transit expansion without improving efficiency and accountability is wasteful. Households end up bearing these costs through higher taxes and fees, despite limited improvements in transit options. Universal childcare also falls short of expectations. While the concept of affordable childcare is appealing, the city's policies often impose new requirements on providers, increasing costs and reducing availability. Middle-income families are particularly affected, earning too much to qualify for subsidies, but too little to afford private care comfortably. These issues indicate a broader problem. City leadership seems more invested in ideological experiments than in practical solutions that improve life for working families. The current policies have not delivered the promised affordability or safety. Instead, they have created a scenario where only the wealthy or those dependent on government assistance can thrive, leaving the middle class to bear the financial burden. If Seattle truly aims to be a city where anyone can afford a home and raise a family, it needs to prioritize supporting law enforcement, streamlining regulations, and focusing public spending on essential services that benefit all, not just select groups. Experience from other cities shows that strong public safety, fiscal discipline, and economic freedom are the real pillars of opportunity. Until city leaders adopt these principles, the vision of an affordable, safe, and welcoming Seattle will remain elusive for most families. And there you have it. The real threat to Washington is not merely street crime. It's the arrogance of a democratic establishment that has failed to protect its citizens, yet still demands more federal power as a solution. We've witnessed the consequences when bureaucrats and career politicians like Biden and Harris prioritize their interests over those of ordinary Americans. Chaos, excuses, and a city spiraling out of control. It's clear that granting more authority to Washington isn't the solution. President Trump recognizes that true safety stems from restoring order and respecting local autonomy, not imposing top-down mandates. Continuously surrendering our freedoms for the illusion of security will leave us with nothing to defend. Consider this: when will they ever return that power? Be sure to comment below while dropping a like and subscribing. Until next time,